You pick up with my notebook, and I got my yellow pad here, for those of you that don't know anyways. But as we get closer, what I'm noticing about Jermell Charlo is that there is this excitement, but there is a confidence, there's a focus. This is the best I've ever seen Jermell Charlo mentally, physically, spiritually. Yeah. Is that fair to say?
No, it seems like a light shining bright down on him right now. He seems to be in a perfect place heading into this fight against Canelo Álvarez. He seems to be high-spirited. He seems to be happy, as well as seems to be focused more so than anything.
If there was a movie character that I could say has come to life, Jermell Charlo gives me Clubber Lang vibes from Rocky III when he beat Rocky for the first time, the only time. But that's what I gather out of Jermell Charlo, the ferocity, the intensity. I mean, just look at what he's doing right now just to that pad.
You know what, I got to disagree with you on that. He reminds me of the Michael B. Jordan character, a kid that's willing to go out there and go through all of the trenches and do whatever he has to do to get that W. And look at him right now, the way he's throwing those shots. They look crisp, they look precise, they look definitely punishing. And on the 30th time, I can only imagine what it's going to feel like being in the ring with this young man.
Well, you know this, being an elite level athlete and going all over the world in what you've done and headlining massive events. What you want is an opportunity. Jermell Charlo is already a made man, super welterweight champion of the world, undisputed. Now he's looking to do it twice, 2 weight classes above. What does that signify for him as he inches closer to that date, September 30th, against Canelo?
You know, you think about the fights and previous, the Tony Harrisons, the Lubas, the Castaños, all those fights were big fights, but this one right here under the bright lights, it doesn't get any bigger than this. This is a history-making moment for Charlo, and the thing is, those moments, you only get them one time, perhaps, and you never get them again. So this is the biggest night of this young man's career. He has to cash in.
When you're in an arena, now, we know T-Mobile Arena is going to be sold out. Limited tickets are available at AXS.com, presented by Premier Boxing Champions, promoted by TGB Promotions and Canelo Promotions. But when you're making that walk from the locker room to the ring, now my first question to you, do you hear the roar of the crowd as you're getting ready to make your entrance?
You know, I remember my first WrestleMania. And I remember being in the gorilla position, that's the go position. And I got ready to walk out the curtain, and I remember the Undertaker, he looked at me and he go, "Hey, Book, make sure you stop and take it all in." And if he would have told me that, I wouldn't have done that. I probably would have had tunnel vision and walked right to the ring. But I stepped out on that stage, and I looked around, and it was more than 70,000 people, and I was like, oh, man. And all of those fans, their energy radiated through me. And that's the only thing I think about with Charlo. It's going to be, you know, sweaty palms. It's going to be butterflies, but that's when you got to get those butterflies to line up and fly straight.
So how do you handle that? How do you harness that?
Well, I think, you know, the nervousness actually worked for you at that time. I think if you're not nervous going into a fight like this, you're not human. So I think having that work for you, I think is going to be his greatest attribute on the 30th.
Well, with Jermell Charlo, one thing we know about him is that he always comes in tip-top physical shape, in just you can tell that he has a game plan, but also with Jermell, he has plan A. I don't know, but I believe he has like plan A, plan 1A, plan 1B. Are there different ways that he can attack you?
Of course, but that's where I think Derek James is going to come into play in a huge way, just because you go back to the Tony Harrison loss, and you go back to the Costanzo draw. You know, he came in with a certain mentality in both of those fights. He seemed a little lackadaisical, maybe not, you know, ready for that night. That cannot happen in this fight. He has to be totally prepared. Preparation is the only luck he's ever going to have in a fight like this. And Derek James has to be that X factor as far as getting him to that point.
What I like about Jermell Charlo, among a litany of things, his punching power,
yes,
how he's so judicious, and he has terrific technique. He is the epitome to me of a boxer puncher. But he's faced adversity in his career. I go back to those fights that you pointed out. You know, the fact that that fight against Harrison in which he lost comes back. knocks him out, finishes him off, has retribution. Then in the first fight with Castaño, his back was against the wall, and Derek James told him, you need these last few rounds, and he went out and did it.
Exactly.
So he has proven time and time again to be able, when he's faced with adversity, to overcome it.
No, it's going to go back to those fights. Having that adversity, having to be able to overcome, being in those positions, knowing what it's like being in those positions, not coming into that fight at a lull. And like I say, this fight is against Canelo Álvarez, the guy is, 59-2. He's only, lost to two of the best fighters in the world, Floyd Mayweather being one of them when he was a kid. Yeah. He's a grown man now, so of course Canelo Álvarez is going to have a game plan as well. So both of these guys, I cannot wait to see the chess match. It's going to be a chess match as far as who walk out. But you talk about those two fights. You talk about how Charlo came into those fight twos with a total different purpose as far as being patient, but being a guy that was seek and destroy at the same time. Let me land this big shot and let me get up out of here and hit the club in H-Town. That's what it was all about.
Well, speaking of H-Town, can you imagine if Jermell Charlo defeats Canelo Álvarez and becomes undisputed super middleweight champion of the world? I can only imagine. You know what it's like to have big moments here in Houston.
Yeah.
The homecoming Jermell Charlo is going to have here in Houston.
Let me tell you, I got the key to the city here in Houston, and trust me, Jermell Charlo goes out and wins this fight. It's going to be a big parade for him downtown. The confetti is going to be all over the place. The mayor is going to have a huge cleanup bill because it's going to be a party like 1999.
Where would you like, if he's able to do this on September 30th, if he were to have a homecoming fight? I think he could go out and...